how exactly did I get here? And the here to which I'm pointing is this very collection or undivided flow of moments. How did any of us get to be right here, right now, to be here now, as the lineage prescribes? Is this experience, this moment, occurring, happening, because I was born? That has certainly been contributed. Though some schools would argue that I was not born, and I cannot die in the absolute sense this is true. Consciousness itself, the loftier term we use for the more accessible term awareness, consciousness, is described in numerous schools and philosophies as unending, indivisible. In the relative sense in this world that we each inhabit, vying for visibility, meaning, esteem and approval. There is a story in which this body, mind, was born. Apparently. Was that birth itself the primary contributor to this moment happening? Right here, right now? No, of course it wasn't. The idea of birth necessitates time. One might reflect back to the collected experiences between here and back there. And recall events, people, circumstances, situations, feelings, emotions, pro and con, countless gamut of thoughts, feelings, movements, energy in the body that was helpful, happiness, joy, peace, understanding, peak experiences, moments of unified consciousness, where mind seems to evaporate in the presence of great nature, great beauty, the smell of a baby, the hug of a baby, the smile of a child, the touch of a lover, chocolate or chai, all the good stuff. And then all the difficult stuff, the struggles, the loneliness, the isolation, the pain in the body, the visits to hospital, the accidents, the injury, the trauma, the perpetrators, being the victim and being the perpetrator. Have all of these contributed to this moment being known? Inside the story, perhaps inside the addition of relative time, perhaps have enabled a certain something, an apparent somebody, to be able to understand the experience of how I got here. And consider, how many times a day am I caught by I? I awaken, I toilet, I breakfast, I walk, I work, I wander, I wane, I wail, I wow, I weaken, I weep, I woe. and sleep and wake, to do it all again until the big sleep, where time and body and mind and the relative sensory experience of a wonderful world of wickedness and wonder, through which each eye wanders, ends, just as that moment, just as that moment, and just as this moment becomes now that moment, and the next imaginary moment is now that moment when I mentioned the imaginary next moment, because there is this moment with the anticipation and the juiciness of the hope of the next, oh, there it goes, that moment. And thoughts arise and feelings arise, and minutes and days and time and faces pass, places change. This relative world of objects which have descriptive features, pleasant, objectionable, helpful, hindrance, difficult, easy, peace, sorrow, over there, near here, underneath, above, to that, in this. If we can describe it, if we can add features to it which we can communicate to them there, she or he, then it will pass through these senses. We encounter the objects of the world, and we necessarily and rightly and initially derive meaning, movement, and the magnificent, and that with which we might moan about, by the way in which we scout the experience of the here and now in the relative sense, and the ways in which we feel and think about the here and now in the relative sense, and the mind in which we wonder, how am I doing? Does this person like what I'm saying? Why has their face furrowed? Do they dislike what I'm saying? Let's change what I'm saying. And in this way, we all move, make money, and once again, moan. And that's all okay. And which of this and how much of this has enabled this incredible experience of knowing here and now, which has caused this to happen? Of course, we finally see when we reduce our relationship to the things that have gone, the things that may be, and even our relationship to the things that are, just temporarily, the veil parts. And we see nothing has contributed to this. And when that smacks us in the chest and the heart shape opens and the mind evaporates, that the awe of it all, perhaps we're in beautiful and beatific nature. Perhaps we are intimate to the organic world of which the body inherently belongs, is intertwined. and no later vicissitudes are necessary. We see, with a capital S, that there is no separation. We move from me and you to I and thou, unified consciousness with all, capital A, life, capital L. And we realize nothing is needed. Nothing that we want could improve this. And we are whole in the whole. The fullness. Does this make life easier? A little. It makes life life, life with a small l, becomes life with a larger story, with a bigger L. We realize the absolute nature of love and the relative nature of types of love, romance, person to person, creativity itself, intimacy, touch, affection. And we travel lighter in this magical, mysterious place. And we stare into the face of difficulty, struggle, suffering, both ours and theirs, with a knowing with a capital K. That this too shall pass. For all things are passing away, as the teacher said. Nothing has contributed to this, where everything belongs. Nothing is missing. And everything is okay. Radically okay. Now ours is to decipher, what are we going to do with it? How are we going to be in it?